Welcome. So episode 13 of 14, week 7. This has been a learning experience. It's been fun. It's been good for my body, Sarah's body, and I hope it's been great for you. I've been hearing a lot from you guys about how it's helped. Next week, just a little announcement. We're going to take next week off, and then we are going to start back all over with, we're going to do a completely different sequence. It's not even going to be in anything in order. We're going to I think initially I'm going to go back through a couple of the ones that were recorded a little differently. Maybe one of those a week, and then just refresher kind of stuff. But I won't really talk the same or do anything like that. So it'll be more of referring people back to that initial one, or for the one that got messed up, we'll definitely do that from the top, straight through. And then we're going to try and get into some more advanced modalities and just whatever we can think of. Like the other day I was sitting there and I get really, really messed up through here, through all the work. I keep saying So I don't even have it around here, but I use my big ball, and it's basically just a little bit bigger than a softball size. It's made by Mobilitas, and it's a foam ball, but it's got some good solid integrity to it. It's pretty firm. And just putting it up against the wall, sitting firm up against there, and just listening to music. And I wasn't dancing or anything, but I was just bouncing up and down and just letting the music just kind of mellow me out. Sorry, I got an itch in my nose. But and it was melting away my entire upper shoulder girdle. So just simple things like that. And I spent maybe 15, 20 minutes doing it, and it was amazing. It kept me up and prevented me from going to sleep a little bit because it wound me up. It got just such a release, and I felt better. But yeah, I want to do things like that with some hands-on self-therapy, some quick fixes on the road, different things like that. So we'll try and mix it up and create some new stuff. But today we're going to do this week we're going to do hands and feet. Today it's going to be me doing some work on Sarah's feet, and then we're going to do some work on, Sarah's going to work on my hands. She always works on my hands. That's pretty much occasionally, when it gets occasionally I'll get into my hands and dig into it if it's really painful. And I'll get this shooting pain that goes through here. So if you, sorry, I just had brain fart. If you ever get anything that comes through the pain in the hand, then you're gonna be working the forearms as well too. So you'll see that with just different things that we do. And whenever I do anything that is involving, the feet and stuff like that, a lot of times you're gonna go where flexing the foot or extending the foot is going to give you, you're gonna feel the tension that's running through the calf. So obviously the same way that when I was doing the calves, I was leveraging the foot. Now we would be doing the finishing move for that. But if you are doing this, then refer back to the one that we just did last week from the knees down, the calves and shins, because you can combine these two. And then you could go back to, I believe it was the first episode for shoulders when we were doing a lot of the arm work. So combine those two with the hands. And then this one, obviously you can combine with last week's in the feet and the calves and shin. So let's get to it. Sarah's got a PowerPoint for us. Hands and feet. So, our feet are our shock absorbers. The whole body is a shock absorber, but our feet are our main, shock absorber. If you look at the arch and everything like that, it's meant to compress. The way that the Blade Runner and different people who have fake feet, you see those, the ones for runners, that's basically, similar to what you're seeing right here. Looking through my camera. So if the feet have an injury, the rest of the body is going to follow suit. You're going to see that with a lot of things in the body. Obviously, everything affects everything. But with the hands and the feet, it's a big thing, because if your hands are messed up, then basically everything you leverage with your hands in arms and shoulders and everything is going to have a difference in range of motion. It's going to have a difference in facilitation. The recruitment's going to be different. Therefore, you're going to be compensating. You're going to have all different types of muscles firing and not firing. And the same thing goes. The feet are a little different because we're on them and we compress them. The hands, we do things with more leveraging it for pulling and pushing things and stuff like that, and maybe twisting things. But the overall you know, the combination of like using your hands is going to be a lot different than the feet. The feet are feeling the weight of the body and, you know, so on and so forth. So the same way we talk about it, we'll talk about after this, like shoes are really, really a huge thing when it comes to feet. If you got big soles, they're going to wear different. If you have big soles, you're going to muffle the sensation of the feet, so they're not going to sense as well. This is where flat feet come from, because the feet are trying to flatten out and get more touching so it can feel more. So, you know, barefoot type shoes with just the right amount of support that you need, whatever style. They make pretty much everything now. And then using your fancy foo-foo shoes for when you want to look good and go out and stuff like that. So, I mean, if you're even doing that anymore. And hands are going to be the same way that, you know, the feet are. Everything's going to adjust to that through the shoulders and arms. That's basically what I was saying. And then you should never like ignore your hands and feet relative to the rest of the body. We should definitely assess our hands and feet, because I think that in therapy they get neglected. You know, massage therapists and stuff, like a lot of times, I don't know, they get weirded out by feet and they don't touch them. So I've seen that, and it's, I don't know, doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me to be in this industry if you're not going to want to do it. Like wash your hands, wear gloves, whatever you got to do. Get some sanitizing lotion, stuff like that, with some foo-foo essential oils in it, so you can defunk some feet. I mean, there's some times where it's uncomfortable being being in therapy, but it's why we do what we do, and it's not always pretty, but it's still got to be done. So you can't ignore the feet, you can't ignore the hands. Where are we at? Yeah, much of our lifestyle, that's basically the last point, is touching on much, too much of our lifestyles keeps the hand and feet dormant and in a restricted routine with shoes, socks, etc. So you got to keep them mobile too. Just moving your feet around, moving your ankles around, trying different motions, different range of motions, different planes, different pressures. All of that stuff is going to help us to keep things like children, where they're more active. Everything's more active. So go to the next one. Yeah.
Before every dance class, to warm up our feet, our teachers, instructors would tell us to make the alphabet with your feet. And if you think about that and how much range of motion that takes, just to go make the alphabet letters with your toes or even with your hands, we're going to get into that too in the next slide. Just how often do we even move our feet and hands like that? So just something to keep in mind, that our feet and hands have huge range of motion, but we don't use that every day, and we should.
So here's what I was talking about. If you want to really know a lot about this, and somebody who can explain it in a much better way than I can, because they studied it and like loved it, they were all about making the feet better, is a book called Born to Run. So if we're wearing thick shoes like I did with basketball shoes our whole life, it's going to flatten out. You're going to get these misshaped feet with all these different shoes that they're sucking it in, trying to look good and trying to do, whatever it is to be fancy or this or that, and even some of these functional shoes that are out there, these shoes that help you to spring forward and everything like that, they destroy your pelvis. They wreck your joints, and they cause massive wear and tear. Look at the Skechers shoes. They got sued for it, and class action lawsuit for like the way they were just destroying people's feet and their entire body. Shoes, socks, everything. I mean, it's really not rocket science. This is all common sense, but it's something that we don't think about. Nobody thinks about their shoes and stuff. They think, oh, my feet hurt, so that's an indicator to go get more comfortable shoes. No, that's an indicator to tell you that something in your alignment is messed up and you need to assess it. Pain is an indicator of confusion and error inside of that region, and you have to assess it like so and go in there and actually prove what's going on. But I mean, if you look at the barefoot runner, and you can see how spread out and everything they have, and then you can see like the shoes, it's really unreal. But there's so many different shoe shapes and stuff out there now. It's just, I mean, it's all about like what it looks like, even if it means destroying yourself. I see stuff through all the years and being in Vegas and all the performers I've worked with and just come to know over the years, and the different things they put them in, it's unbelievable that they can even stand up straight and keep somewhat of, like, to be able to perform the way that they do is unreal, because they put them in these outfits and these shoes and stuff that have no ergonomic feel to them, and it's wreaking havoc on them. But they're also being tested to do, or challenged to do, like some of the most amazing feats, like in cirque and different things like that. It's incredible. Some of them go out there and they've got the show suit on and they're still doing this stuff, and then I would work on them one of my buddies, good time, long time client. I mean, he was a stud, but he was a, aerial cert guy, and just the stuff that he would have to do in there, it was definitely not about the thought of the person doing it. So let's move on. And here you can just see basically a breakdown of everything with shoes and versus bare feet. And a lot of this stuff is even something that I've only got into in the last few years. Once I was on the PGA Tour, well, that was almost 10 years ago. What am I talking about? When I was on the PGA Tour, that was in 12, and that's where I got into it, because my golfer had the Vibram soles put into his golf shoes, and he made a tennis shoe with it. So, in walking 8 to 12 miles out there, it was amazing how in 3 days, my whole entire body was a wreck. I was not used to doing that stuff. And when he gave me those shoes, within a week or two, he had to remind me that I had pain in my feet. And it was amazing. It was so profound. The change was just amazing that I literally forgot that I even had it until he had to be like, so how about your feet? But looking at all this stuff, it's this reason why the Jamaicans and Africans whip us in running events, because it's nothing for a kid to just go run 30 miles to another village and pick up food or whatever his mom needed or something, and then run back. They run a consistent, whatever pace mile, but they're used to just putting tire tracks over the bottom of their feet and getting it. Let's move on. Yeah, if you look at this, this is what I really have leaned towards teaching people. When they're like, what do I do after I see you? Just move. Just pronate, supinate, everything with abduction, adduction, everything through the, rotation is the hardest thing for the body to do. So to twist your extremities is the hardest, and your trunk and everything. It's the hardest thing for the body to do. It requires all of the muscles to get engaged. So just move, guys. Bounce around, be like little children, and fly all over the place, and just spin your body and twist it around, and think of something that you haven't done recently and do a bunch of it. And then the next day, try and think of something else you haven't done and make a list. And over time, just see, you'll get into 100, 150 movements, and you'll notice that you can have areas if you pick your knee up off the ground, put it back down from a standing position, and you hear that clunk in your hip. That's the hip trying to start over because it's in the wrong starting position. So just today, I had that happening when I was outside stretching in the morning, and I basically picked my leg up, kicked it out, kicked it in, kicked it out, kicked it in 40 times. Then I did, some different hip, glute kicks and some abduction, adduction and stuff like that. And it lubed it up. It stopped clunking. So if that can happen, when that's probably one of the most common things that people have today that we all share. We're all like, yeah, I got this. Every time I put my hip up, my hip will clunk, or they'll lay on the ground and put your leg down, it could clunk. And if you can lube it up and make it go away in 30 seconds to a minute like I did today, then that tells you that some of the times we just need to move the area to feel better. Go ahead. Yeah, reflexology. You don't got to get into all the spiritual side of it and everything like that. Find a practitioner that you like. What? Yeah, it's all over our nerve endings. This is real deal stuff. But you will. I mean, be forewarned. Not forewarned so much. But I have a lot of great super hippie people into some crazy stuff that I've never even heard of before. And they do great work certain times, and a lot of times I go there and I just tell them I'm not down with certain things that they do or whatever like that. And they totally appreciate that. But I find good practitioners. So don't always shoot them down. You don't always agree with the person that you're in front of, but sometimes that person can be the one that, big man upstairs is using to heal you. So I've had some times where I've gone into some certain stuff and I just wasn't down with it. I never went back. So if you got to look at the thing with any practitioner, it has to be a matter of chemistry. You can't just be like, oh, you're awesome, you came, highly recommended, and then you and them don't vibe and they just can't, that's not motivating. It's not going to be the best thing to go see that person, especially in therapy. If you're having a bad day or something and your body's a wreck and you finally get in to go see him and stuff like that, and that person and you don't really vibe, you really should find a practitioner. There's so many of them out there nowadays that it makes it easy for you to find somebody who could do reflexology, who could do kind of active therapies or manual therapies, whatever it is. But the reflex points and everything through here, there's a lot of practitioners out there if you want to just go to like your chains and stuff like that, where they just get you in, get you out. They do a $20, $30 reflexology session. Sometimes they're $100 if you're getting for like good people that'll go in there, but they still get you in, get you out quick. Like half an hour sessions, hour, if it's $100, it's normally an hour. It's amazing. Like you see the ones up in the upper right of each one where it's arm and shoulder, or the upper inside, I should say, and that yellow says arm and shoulder. You can release those points, and then you could find the same exact points on your feet. They're in the same spots. Isn't that crazy? You can like legit go on your foot right now, and it'll be in the upper outside part. That's the inside of the palms are together. But on the foot, it would really be like the outside up by your pinky toes and stuff. But if you were to turn your hand down and put it down like your foot would be, they're in the same exact spots. So the arm and shoulder, really, like, it could be something I release on somebody and they move their arm and pow, pow, pow. They get 3 like gunshot size releases and pops that just set things into place. The spinal column, look at that, runs up through the thumb, everything through there. So you can see that, and then you can see that mirrored on the inside ridge of the feet. So it's amazing. Like, people ignore the hands. I mean, everybody knows about reflexology. And I mean, what's funny is initially when she put this picture up, my brain immediately goes like, I'm looking at the foot, even though I know that's a hand. But I'm so used to working with the foot and the reflex points there and seeing the charts for that if you look at this, then, I mean, down to the point where, it's a little different where like the center of your foot is going to be like your heart and your lungs. And you're getting into a lot more upper body stuff when you're into the hands. So, but you're also getting into still like organ function and things like that. But if you look at the like feet and stuff like that, you'll typically you get into like releasing like right in the heel, and that's the low back meridian and stuff like that. So there's differences in the upper and lower meridians. As far as like what they're targeting, obviously your hands are going to target more stuff in the upper body, and the feet are going to target more lower things, and then you have both sharing in organs. But you see the shoulders, so you realize if the shoulders and arms have trigger points and reflex points on your arms or on your hands and your feet, that tells you that's a big sign to look at, because that means that there is a complete shared meridian that goes from the top of your body all the way at the furthest point in your extremity in your hand, all the way down to the furthest extremity into your feet, all connected. So in these superficial lines that I always show you, that totally makes sense when you're seeing stuff like that. So in doing your hands and your feet, that's why we put these together. There's so much that correlate between the two, and we should never ignore one or the other, for sure. Go for it, babe. Same thing. Check it out. Where is it up here? See the shoulder up there on the outside and the upper? It looks like the same spot when you're looking at the feet and the hands. So, and then you see, of course, in the middle there, you got all the gut and everything like that, heart. Yeah, see the spine right through there running through the middle? It's the same exact way, except for the hands will be flip-flopped on this one. But it's really just goes to show you, I mean, a lot of these things, you can see that one right through the heel, how I said, sciatic nerve, whole heel, glute area. So releasing the heel. If your heel feels hard, guys, if you soften it up, I guarantee you're going to get up, and within a few days, you'll probably be able to rotate your body, do the back stretch, where you twist and go for a pop, and you can just turn across and pop, 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 get those two, get your SI joints, everything like free up and stuff. But sometimes that's all it takes. These buttons, these trigger points that were put into us in creation were built to us to, you can tell, they are meant to be trigger points and buttons for a reason. They refer to a specific point. If that point is really angry, then you're better off like going to some things like this. If you go into like the glute area or something like that, and it's so angry that you can't even touch the person without them going into like a seizure, you might want to go check out some of these nerve pathways, decompress them, and see if you go back and just move the person, if things pop and free up, or if that just takes down the sensitivity in the whole chain. So that meridian, that whole pathway, when I say meridian, I'm talking about like a pathway of energy that flows. So always think about your pathways too. Don't just think about the physicalities, like I say. Remember, the nervous system controls everything. Go for it. That's all right. Oh no. And just check out the feet. There's not a lot of tissue in the feet, guys. So these are small muscle groups, and there's just a bunch of layering with like a little thing sticking out. You know, for your metacarpals, metatarsals, all the different things that, you know, like pull on them, there's not a whole lot to it. It's a stability joint. So when you look at like the foot, it stabilizes all of that power of the ankle that's right above it. So it's holding that, and it's meant to, as you can see, it hold together. It's meant to be very, very easy to articulate different ranges and different motions. That way the full body can go through it. If you look at the way that those fibers run through the foot, just straight down, 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 each one individual, it's so it can flex and move side to side, and each piece, each line goes up to a line of the body, allowing the body to have complete independent freedom. Go ahead. Yeah, you see here, just check it out. I want to talk about these are the meridians. You know, when I talk about it, it's the communication network. Fascia is the meridian network. So you look at that, it is the information highway, it is the hydration highway, it's the blood highway. I mean, it's the what, you know, causes the blood to do its thing. Go ahead. All right, let's get to it. There's really no assessment or anything to do with this. So we're just going to jump right to the foot section. I'm going to show you guys how my favorite thing to use the gun for is the, I'm all over here. My favorite thing to use the gun for is the feet and the hands, and the arms too. But I mean, my favorite thing to use it on is the feet, because you can just buzz it and straighten it out. And with a couple hours of compression, you could do both feet. And you can take a foot that looks like a club foot. I had like an old guy, he was a client of mine's dad who came over. He's 75, and he had a stroke, and he has literally all of his weight pushed onto his right side of his body. The whole left side was atrophying. The right side was starting to atrophy because of it too. And then his whole right foot looked like a club foot. It just collected and sucked all up towards the ankle joint. So I decompressed everything through there, and it got like a huge shift. Now I got to go next week. I got to do it. It was only an hour I had, because his dad, you know, he was trying to get him introduced to it. But it's amazing when you reset the feet and people are like, wow, it feels like a suction cup on the ground. And imagine when it does, when it feels even and nice and flat and suctiony around there, and the arch feels up and high, then you've got like this claw that's gripping the ground, and it helps you to support the weight of your body. So you're not shifting it around. Your body can actually stay straight, put all its feet in there, and the foot can, you know, flex like a shock absorber. And in turn, it can help the body to stay loose. If it has a point of the foot where the body shifts and it's hard into the foot, it's going to either favor not going towards that side. It's going to push into it and be bounced back. And therefore, when you do that, you're going to start developing hardness from that line all the way up. So let's get to it. Start rolling Sarah's feet. Sweet. I like this. So I'm trying a little different. I raised the camera up so we can go more down. It's definitely, I think you would agree that the glare is better. It actually shows more of the dark, gives it a better contrast to it. So, and like you guys can see like really what I'm doing here. So, I mean, most of what you're doing with the feet is going to be opening it here and getting this to free up and getting this to free up. That's really, well, and then here, down, dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, and then getting the supination and pronation open. So when you pull it this way, and then when you pull it this way, trying to get it to bend that way. So opening all this up through here. And then you can feel all these cords and everything up through here that that tie into the foot. So we'll try and hit some of those too. So I'm going to do the gun. I'm trying to move the microphone a little bit away from it so you guys can turn your volume down or mute it or whatever during this time if you're watching this after, or just enjoy the racket. You'll see I'm basically just taking it and pushing it. So same thing, Theragun, turn it a little bit on its side, feel the layers, push them into a stretch. Somebody might be too sensitive for the high speed, so be aware of that. You might need to turn it down to slow. What? Are your foot asleep? It's not just the nerves. Turn it back on. Yeah. So nerve sensation being like when nerves shut off and when they turn on, they do similar things. So you can, like a nerve turning on, sometimes we'll go numb, sometimes we'll make complete loss of feeling, and then it like radiates back through. So same thing as like if you whack yourself and hit your elbow or something and it like rings your hand, goes numb, and you almost like lose feeling and then it comes back. Or like when your leg falls asleep, something like that. Those are all very, very similar things that happen. So don't freak out if like you work on somebody or yourself and all of a sudden you're like getting some numbness or something like that. And then just wait it out and make sure that you're actually feeling something before you freak out, because typically it's all good. So we use gauging how well we can get this to come over and flop or not flop, how well to go here, how much we can get her foot to pull back towards her body, and how much we can get it to extend towards mine. So here I basically hook my thumb under, just right in the middle of the foot, right at the bottom. Right below the middle of the foot, right where it touches the heel, and squeeze the top, pulling that middle part towards the toes. So I'm basically pulling this direction. My thumb is coming up from here and pulling this direction. And if you see it on here, I'm just pulling. If I did it with this finger, I'm taking this and pushing it up, okay? Give it a little wiggle, keep bouncing on it. I've been doing that more and more. Really whoops your own body doing it, but once you get used to it, it's amazing. It makes things go so much faster. You press them real hard, then let go some. and then just bounce and kind of wiggle, and it just melts it away. It seems a lot less painful for the client and a lot more effective for you. You can also take that bump from the inside, like from the inside of the foot, and pull it to the outside this way or that way. So once you got your thumb on it, just take it and like push up. Just figure out which way it's going to go. But stick your thumb into it and grab across that skin. Don't let your finger slip. Sometimes you use oil and you're just going over it over and over and over, but it's better just to grab on it and pull it until it stretches and releases. So, you know, when you do the feet and stuff, there's small muscle groups that get a little angry and agitated quickly. So I like to release some areas, buzz it real quick, sync everything back together, and then continue. So it's already getting better. This is getting a lot less springy. This wants to go out. See that? I can do it with just one finger. Basically, it wants to go out a lot easier. So we'll keep testing that here. So now I'm going to take this and I'm basically going to pull it towards myself. I'm going to hook my thumb up under it and I'm going to create a brace and then I'm going to pull the top towards me. Nice beat. Relax the knee. Grinding on the back of the heel, shaking it like this. I'm pinching. See, I'm pinching right here. I'm pushing that in. I'm twisting your foot apart from each other. And then just shaking it. And you can feel your ankle wants to just clap. Whew. That is hard to do, especially after a full day working. Well, I only had 4 hours today, but I turned it into 5. Kind of just stays there now. That's what you want. You want it to like, see, this one doesn't, like, won't go. Just kind of sits. This one's was sitting like more. Now it just kind of drops out and I'm not feeling nearly as much tension here. That really helps like through here a lot. And you can just pinch this knot right through here and make Sarah make all crazy noises and faces that you guys can't see. And then just wiggle this knot between your fingers. Keep the pressure on the spots you feel. Just walk this stuff free. Go over and over and over and over and until your hand can't do it anymore or till the foot feels real soft through here. And it should add length. This shouldn't look so bony and like pulled together. It should be nice and long like this. Where you see it makes her foot look real long and elegant. You can see her foot over here. It's really jumbled up right through there. And this one has got a lot better look. See how it's smooth through there? No ridge. You can see the whole, all the way to the tarsal just going through. Sing, babe. Sing for everybody. We'll shake it out. Yeah, It's just coming apart. It's going together, coming apart. Oh, right there. There it is. Right on this inside here.
Oh, you do it on the top.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's where it's slapping around, trying to. Now I'm twisting this over, pushing it up towards the top of the foot. So I'm kind of like sliding my whole palm across it like this. Yeah, it just stays there. Now she's got like it. Now it's like nice and firm together. See, it's actually like, I forgot that part to explain. That when you get the foot straight out and the pressure is not up here, it's all the way down the foot. Like if you have it lengthened down here, like this is nice and soft compared to what it was. And there's still some rigidness in here, but I'm not going to do the whole thing. I would definitely, especially if it's the first time you're doing this or doing it on anybody else, be careful. I mean, when you strip your whole foot and you compromise it, and I would really do your calves or shins if you're going to do that, because if you do a real heavy, intense load on your feet, hopefully you don't have to walk the next day for a lot, because you want to be able to chill and stretch them out, keep them mobile, but you want to kind of give them a break for a day too. So tread carefully. Some people go crazy, especially with the Theragun. And then the next day they're like, dang, I couldn't even put my feet on the ground, and think about that. That's going to cause compensation up the entire calf. Now I'm hitting out here, but from up under. I'm twisting it up, like trying to push this foot up like this. And I'm stretching it towards the pinky. Oh, that was a good one. That just melted. Yeah, this is the big one. Like, can you bring it across? And now it's getting nice and firm where the foot is feeling like all of everything is firing together. It's immediately responding. Here we got like a lot better. Down here she can go a lot straighter. And guys, like the foot is not going to be like, unless somebody is like stuck 90 degrees, okay? You're not going to get like 10 inches more range out of it like we do in the hamstrings and stuff, okay? But you are seeing like how the foot now is like, it's not so sloppy. Let's see the other one. Like up in here is like really sloppy on this foot. You see, like it's just loose through here. So that's what I should have actually prefaced things that way. Like the foot will get more stable and less sloppy as it gets better. Normally, like around the rest of the leg, like when you get up to the quad and stuff, it starts, slapping around. When you get the quad happy and the hamstring happy, they flop around like this, But with the foot, it's like it becomes like a militant motion, very, very precise. And so now that we've got this down here with this foot, it's see how it's got that firmness to it versus here it's like right at the foot it's very loose through here. So let's check and see if this makes a liar out of me. But let's see if on this foot if it does get more stable through here, because this foot, if we put them side by side, is like, I mean, it seems like I crossed it. It's longer on this side, and this ridge over here is considerably higher than this one. I mean, it looks like I cut it off here. And she can even flip around, you can see, but even turning it up like that, you don't see that bump. It doesn't come up through there the same way. It doesn't come up through there the same way. Sorry if you didn't hear that. I was talking the opposite direction. So let's buzz it again real quick.
Hold your foot. Hold your foot. Tight. Lift it up. Back. Right. Hit your leg. Yes. Point. Yeah. Hit it that way. Yeah. Good.
So on yourself and your clients or whoever you're doing it for, friends or family, whatever, have them do their, you know, occasionally like have them do stuff. Say, you know, like I told Sarah, pull your foot, push it like this. When they fire their own muscles or when you use your own muscles as you're working on yourself, it's different than just pulling it into a static stretch. Okay, you're recruiting and you can get things to like release. Not necessarily is going to be better every time, but sometimes it can release more effectively, meaning like things will go into a better place. So you get less onset damage or soreness or compensation. So let's just test it, pull it a little bit more, hit these remaining spots. Now I'm pulling this down and pushing up right here on the bottom, right here. And then I'm pulling down on the pinky, and then I'm pulling this knot from the heel towards the pinky. Yeah, I'm making faces. Got the freedom. It feels free, but it's like it holds itself. Unlike this one. This one's like very sloppy at the ankle. And this one just feels like it slides around the ankle, which is what we want. Better out here, way better at that how it likes to. This one turns over nice, so much less like stuff sticking up in here. It just seems smoother. And to me, you guys, I know you guys can't see it as well. Well, I don't know. It's better quality on your thing. So when I look at it, so you might be able to see it, but this looks way more elegant. So when ladies like who have their feet, you would believe how many people I've had come in who, whether they tell me right off the bat or not, end up telling me that they have horrific feet or hate their feet. I've had guys like my good buddy Vinny would never let me work on his feet until I finally like did, and then I realized how messed up they were, and he had some visual issues that he didn't want me to see and mess with, but it was insane. Like after we finally did him, because he wouldn't let me touch him for like a year and a half of working on him. After we finally did him, he's getting like all these crazy pops and resets and everything through his whole body. All right. Put both feet up, like here. No, flat. Yeah, this one, I mean, I don't know if you guys can notice, this is just so much more down. This just looks like it's wrapped up. Drop your feet out like this, knees out on you. Yeah, you can't really see anything there. All right, let's get to the next one. Let's test it first. Pretty stiff there. It's about all the give we got. It's pretty pulley there. Pulley, like my words. This, yeah, that picks the whole leg up. Like, doesn't even, it's really stiff to the outside. And this one's pretty bouncy. Same thing. I got it on the first try. Popped right away. Yep. Did you hear that one? I wonder if you guys can you hear that, Kathy? Scoot up. Relax. You need to. Yeah, that's good. All right, you can put this one up again. That's good. So, I mean, don't go trying to do that unless you're like comfortable with what it feels like to pull an ankle out of place and back in. But now we got that right one. It's really cool just how this whole dips right through there. hold it, and it's just that ankle just looks super mobile now. You see that? Just like everything going around it. Kind of looks weird the way it does that. I always think it's just like crazy out. No, on anybody's ankle, it looks like it splits in half. See, when she moves, it looks like it goes to the ball and then splits and ball and splits. Yeah, I've always tripped out on that.
People who wear shoes all day, feet end up feeling so fragile.
Yeah, feet. It's like Sarah's foot over here. All the sometimes like her old dancer days show in her feet and her ankles and up through where it just they get really unstable if they the tension builds too much. But that's because she's probably done some damage to her ligaments and tendons over the years from heavy exertion, heavy range of motion. I mean, a lot of the women are trained in a very very aggressive way. Go, can't do the splits. Here you go. So, and whether or not they're forcefully doing that Russian style of ballet kind of stuff, or they're just doing very, very intense challenges on the, physical anatomy of the body and the elongation of the tissues and things like that. And it's not in the right way either. There's a lot of beauty in dancing and a lot of amazing things in sports and athletics, but man, is so much of it wrong for the actual anatomy of the body. I'm not saying they don't do it right for the sport or the dance or any of the ballroom or stuff that they do for any type of art and athletic ability, but some of the stuff that we force ourselves to do for the glory of the sport completely destroys us. Because dancing, I mean, when I got into it, man, was I naive. I never got into dancing, don't get me wrong. I wanted to do it because of Sarah, but that was definitely her thing in her life. Mine was heavy athletics. But I guess I was, too quick to assume that dancers would have just the perfect finesse in all of their joints and physical structure. And boy, was, when I met my wife and started going through her body, oh my gosh. And back then I was a lot more ignorant to what I do with the body now. So I didn't know how to fix that stuff. So some of the stuff I ran into, it took me, 4 or 5 years to figure out the truth about how to get into stuff. Because when you go into the research of it, most therapists say you can't do what we did. Breaking through the calcified tissue and all the things they had built up. I mean, a lot of the doctors out there would have told her she would have had to live with that for the rest of her life. Just expect that you overdid your body, and because of the routine that you were putting yourself through for, 15, 20 years of your life, you should expect that you're going to have lifelong damage and lifelong, things that you incur, and that's totally not true. Now, if you fall and sent your hip out the side of your body on a traumatic, compound fracture of some sort, then that's okay. Yeah, you might have something that you have to deal with repercussion-wise from that. But these typical run-of-the-mill things that people talk about, where it's like, oh, you can't fix calcified tissue, your abs are genetic, and oh, I'm just built that way, or no, you're not. And if you want to believe you are for that, then go for it. But the truth is you're not, and you could have a lot of hope to fix whatever it is, because if it's not broken, we can fix it. And most everybody on earth is not broken, meaning they haven't severed, fractured, crushed, something beyond repair. But guys, I've had people with no joints in their shoulder be able to lift their arm to neutral with weights, and you would never know they didn't have a joint. They go past parallel, past 90, they lose 100% of their recruitment. But they could still pick their arm up over their head. So if they needed to pull a shirt off or put a shirt on, they could still do it. I've had people with nubs to where I would go to Home Depot and build gear for them to hook up to the free motion machines and stuff like that. And the things that they said that he couldn't do because he only had this much of the joint at past the elbow. But I got him to fire his tricep and build them like just any other person. It looked different, obviously, because he had no joint there. So, but he would cover it up. He still had this crazy buff bicep and tricep. Remember that dude, Ben? Okay. The guy who had the nub at 24 Hour Fitness?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I built that little gizmo for him to where I got him to fire his little nub. I don't remember names like you do.
Anthony.
No, that's Perry. He had a small arm.
Oh.
I'm talking about the big, tall guy who always came in suits, and he only had the little tail after.
Oh, yeah.
And I got
Anthony does the same thing.
Yeah.
When I started training him, I would hook around here, and his shoulders were
Yeah.
able to move at the same God.
I need to, yeah, it'd be cool to like work on him now. Maybe some of the calcified tissue that he had that I didn't know how to break through back then, I could actually get because he couldn't extend his arm. Feeling better? Way less restricted. Just barely have to do anything on that. But now the knee is wanting to pick up and engage there, so definitely got some change there. This is night and day. That was like really, really stiff. Still a lot of tension, don't get me wrong, but night and day. We're getting that ridge too. I don't know if you guys agree, but it looks softer. Doesn't look as pointy here. Now we're going to do the pull. And I'm really just trying to like hook the tip of the bone right there at the top in that arch and then pull it down towards me. And all the little muscles go with it. Get away from me, fly. Attacked by a fly.
My feet took a turn for the worst when I was put in point shoes.
Point shoes, she said, killed her feet.
And if you think about soccer players, baseball players, football players,
Oh yeah,
shoes they have to wear.
cleats are terrible. They're so firm. Basketball shoes are ridiculous. That's why all of them look like they have really straight legs with no muscle bellies. Their calves look like they're sucked up in the back of their knees. Their calves look really, really hard and long and firm, kind of like mine. But I just worked on mine and got them a lot better last week, but still messed up. Need to do more. Sometimes when things are real bad, you need to go back through them like 2 full times and then start your maintenance. Hurts right here on the spine here on this one. Gonna get that fly. You just grab that right here, just like this, and then roll your hand in. You can pull it out too, but I like to roll it in. What did she say, breathe? Kathy, I think said something.
I was just going to say, make sure you remind your clients to breathe.
Yeah, breathe. The feet will make you. She does my hands, I just fall asleep. Feels so good. Hands are really just stretching and kind of squeezing the fatty tissue in the middle and releasing those little muscles in there. I'm really just taking this ridge over here, and you guys can't see it, but I'm taking and pushing this down. So all you're doing is like feeling these lines. They run like this, and you just push them this way or push them that way until they stretch and release. Kind of dig your hands in and just skin on skin, pull that skin to a stretch. This is definitely getting better. I got some bounce in it now. Nice and stable through here. This is cool. Yeah, look at the ankle. It's so much better. Not nearly as sloppy. See that? Everything just looks like it's holding it together all the way out to the tip. This one was like not, it was picking the whole leg up. Now I have to go all the way over to get it to pick up. Does that feel different? And always check through the insides, everything through the heel. And just go around and find hard stuff, guys. I'm just showing you the basics with this. This is all it really is. It's just finding the stuff in the feet and getting comfortable working the feet. Finding these little spots and just hold them, move. Do this on yourself. You can just kick your foot, press in a spot. Just keep wiggling it till it melts away. Way better. Like, I don't feel anything until about here. It's like floppy for that part. And that's what you want, because that means we're getting this whole outside of the leg to calm down. And that's a big deal for just every human being on earth. You see when you get it over here, a little tighter. Well, it still goes over nicely though. And this is out. So that gets harder to internally rotate the further out you go. You can also, like when you're doing these, push the heel here and just take this knot here on the side and smash it down into the mat or whatever you're doing. Try and take that and like wrap it around here. If you were on this side, you'd be getting in here, pressing it down, like smashing that without going over the side and pushing it around and in. Getting those two to wrap around, like release that way, we'll get this to come up a lot better, even though I could do it now a different way. But yeah, try to do that, because that could be one that can really aid and help you in doing it. But that's why the calves and shin are something that you should do. But that's one technique that you can do that I didn't really touch on last week, is just push up here and then get in here and just wiggle and release it. Wiggle and release it, if you didn't hear me. I'll just do a little now so you guys can see how fast you can do it. Relax, babe. Yep, a little bit more spring in your step. All right, stand up. See how you feel. Like suction cups?
This shoulder's up.
Yeah, it's crazy how they feel. You feel flat-footed, like you feel like your feet hit the floor flat, but your arch is high. So you got like this suction kind of feeling where the arch is nice and up, and this is down. All right, let's not waste any time. Sarah can just give you the hands, guys. Really, I mean, she's going to be doing a lot of basic movement stretches, pulling, digging into different things in through the palm. You're really just finding spots, pinching on both sides, pulling. You know, you can do it with yourself with the fingers pulling. We're going to go over a lot of that. I mean, just doing this and squeezing a spot and doing range, slow range, and then going as far as you can. See how my pinky gets crooked? This is the hand I shattered, I think. Yeah, it was. And then pulling it. All these little things. I mean, if you just do that to yourself now and then go, like it already feels nice and light and cool right through there just from. And then if you got a gun, buzz your hands first. It syncs everything together, and do it like periodically throughout the session like I was just doing. You want to sit there and I'll just put my hand?
Mm-hmm. You comfortable?
No. I'm really just kidding. I was kidding.
Oh.
You're getting out of the view of the camera. You screwed up. They can hear you just fine.
I know. Thank you.
Make her talk.
All right. So for him, he spends most of his day like this, right? He's pushing, he's using a lot of this area. And it's important to kind of understand, when you're working on somebody, what are they doing all day? Are they sitting there typing all day? Their hand is like this. So this would be so tight. This would have to be lengthened. See, for him, you can see this doesn't even fire on him really because it's so tight up here. So probably the same thing with calves and forearms, with feet and wrists, is getting into all in here too, the elbow, under here, all the wrist, all on the side here. So when I work on him, it's a lot of wrist movement because he does spend a lot of time holding and staying in certain positions for a long time, and just getting range of motion through all his fingers because he's absorbing people's energies. He's also kind of stuck like this sometimes to make sure that he's nice and firm in his grip and what he's doing. So just to warm him up, I always just go through the fingers. You're like, okay.
My
Fall
shoulder.
asleep.
No, my shoulders. I'm just all super stiff from here, so this will make it so I don't have to stop.
Well, no, actually, there.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so I'm just going to go through the fingers. I'm going to kind of pull them, just kind of stretch them out, make sure his hand nice and flat. Going through all the fingers. Again, doing a little shake, doing a little wiggle.
Feels so good.
So a lot of us too, we're always like this. So it's really important to kind of make sure you do stretch the opposite ways so that you are getting all the areas loose. So yeah, I do a lot of stretching like this too, making his wrist fold down this way instead of this way, because he stays like this all day. Why am I going to really stretch him much this way unless I'm finding spots to open up the wrist here and press in there too.
And this line that she's working, moving it the way she was, inserts right here. So if you're having neck issues and stuff like that, that's why I always say if you go further away from the joint, it doesn't take very much to mess up that joint far away. So like a little spot by your hand will mess your neck up way worse than a big spot up by your shoulder.
So when I work on him too, I'm always, or anybody really, I always like to add pressure, but stretch at the same time. I'm not as strong as he is, so I can't hold spots as long as he does. So stretching and pulling and applying pressure at the same time, and a little bit of wiggling, a little bit of shaking, also allows the muscles to release and also relax. And plus too, I feel like you're stretching things back into place and getting that range of motion there too. So I just have my fingers here on his wrist and I'm pulling. It's almost like you're pulling the wrist off of the bone, away from the bone. And while I'm also stretching his wrist here. And while also stretching his arm and shoulder and getting range of motion in there too. So again, twisting, finding where he's not firing, where his muscles aren't firing, finding what's hindering his range of motion. So here, you can't see it here, but really it's right here in this dip right here. It's not firing. It's really tight. So this from the elbow is all the way across to the top of the hand is this whole line right here. I'm going to really try and target that for him too. Getting right here in between the thumb
That's where I'm injured.
So that's where he said his injury is. So I'm going to apply pressure here, pulling the arm and stretching at the same time. So I'm not applying too much pressure, but just enough to get this area to release as I'm twisting and stretching. Relax it, moving the thumb around, seeing what else is in here. He's got a lot of stuff right in here too, so I'm going to go back this way. I'm going to pull the thumb open so I can get right in the middle, right in here, but try and go in a little deeper. So I'm pulling the thumb as a stretch while digging inside these knots in here.
My thumb is like 3 times the size I was when I was before I started doing mechanic work and this work. My hands have gotten so thick, like right there at the bottom. It's just crazy. I used to have such thin, like long athletic hands from pitching and basketball and stuff. They were always like stretched out and more bony and long. Now they're like thick, like mitts right at the palm. They get super tight, but they're so strong and they have so much endurance. I don't even feel it until my body just fails. I feel my shoulders all the time.
I'm going to apply a little bit more pressure with my palm. Getting in there, same spot, right in here at the side of and just pushing down. And I'm also going to be moving the thumb around too. Most of the time, he just tells me to step on his hands and smash him.
Yeah, feels great. Or me, just step on me. But she doesn't have enough weight to step on me with my hands, she does. Or my forearms, too.
So pulling the fingers and the thumb open will allow the deeper layers to kind of come to surface, or for you to get in there deeper. I always think about my dad with hands. He used to always come home. He was a construction worker. He used to always come home with the most beat up hands, but I learned to appreciate a man working with his hands. So when I met Josh, he was a car guy, he did all kinds of stuff with his hands. Instantly, I was just, let me see your hands. No, I'm kidding. Like that 51st States movie, my 51st States. And he said, my hands smell like fish. And she fell in love. I'm just pulling, trying to get this nice and loose because his whole top of the hand and forearm is so tight. So I'm just grabbing here and pulling into a stretch and kind of bending the wrist too. So he's getting better this way, but it's this way too. You can see. Oh.
Needed to pop.
Did it pop?
Yeah, it was just sharp pain in it.
So here you can see it stops all right here. I'm going to pull his pinky, and I'm going to take my fingers. I'm going to find that little crevice in here. And I'll kind of move around the wrist too, and then just hold that spot. Same thing like the feet, they're so small that the knots are all there. You'll feel it. And the range of motion is so minimal too, even though we have a lot of range of motion in these joints, it's still so minimal that you'll be able to tell right away which way it can't move, where's it coming from. And from there, you can work on the elbows, the shoulders, all the way up to the neck. And then from the neck, you can go down to the rhomboids. I mean, it just keeps going. You know, our chain, superficial lines, functional chain, however you want to look at it, it's endless. Well, it ends here at the hands and feet. So again, I'm just grabbing and pulling and pressing with my fingers. Right in there.
Go to this one.
Same thing, testing the range of motion, pulling. This is left side, so this is his stronger side. So he's going to have a little bit less range of motion, more tightness on this side.
This side feels better, but the second she touches it, it feels terrible.
So I'm just twisting and stretching, kind of opening up, finding out where you can see here. He's got a big old knot right here on top. Other side, same thing. This does not want to rotate with the elbow or the shoulder. So if I rotate the shoulder in, then I get the rotation of the wrist. But that's not really what we want. We want to be able to rotate the wrist.
Let me see. Little pops. Oh, it's still messed up.
So I'm just squeezing. This is what Kathy said. I'll check your comment in a minute, Kathy.
Probably saw my face.
She said she's understanding something.
Oh, okay.
And you can see too the way his hand lies. I don't know if you can see it, but the middle of his wrist to the elbow is completely off center. So you can also look at people's alignment too and see, you know, so tight here. His hand is pushed this way. So the center of him is, you know, it doesn't line up. So when things don't line up, that's also a big indicator of where you can start with somebody, where they're hurting, why they're hurting. You start to see people's movement patterns the more you get used to, you know, examining bodies and people and the way people walk. Then my biggest indicator when I'm looking at people is I go right to their shoes. Because then you can see the shoes they wear, and then you understand, oh, that's why you walk that way, or that's why you're this way, you know. Or maybe they had an injury or something, you know. But there's a lot of things that you can pick up on just by the way people walk and the shoes they wear. I'm just squeezing both sides of his wrist here while moving the thumb around, trying to get in there a little bit deeper. And while also stretching the thumb. Get a little better. I'm going to do that on the other side, on the outside of here.
Dang, that literally almost put me to sleep in that second there. That spot on the outside of my wrist felt like completely different. So that's a good sign. And you get those when I have clients who do that, and they'll just be like, "Oh my gosh." And it's only been like 2 minutes. They're like, how long have I been sleeping? I'm like, 30 seconds. Really? But that's a good sign when your nervous system goes through some kind of significant change on a spot. That's why I always say, too, these are the end of the meridian. So reciprocating flow is hardest to get farther away from the heart. So you got to, opening these things up can make such a difference. That was a big crunch.
Mm-hmm. You can see the side of his hand right here. So fat.
Yeah. I put pressure on that for probably like 30 to 50 hours a week.
Wow. So this on the outside, we'll get to that as soon as I'm done with this on the wrist. But that would be a big spot for him, and I think anybody, because our shoulders, this is all the outside meridian of our shoulders, our elbows. So when we start to come here and roll our shoulders forward, it turns into our wrist, and then everything just goes in, and then you get tightness. And so we all have our funky ways of moving every day. So I'm going to pull this open again with the pinky, and then I'm just going to start on the inside here and then kind of work my way out to get this area to relax a little more. Ooh, he's got a big one in there.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's where I shattered it.
So I'm got my thumb here, pulling the pinky out, or stretching more so.
Wow,
And I'm pushing this area down, away from the pinky. I'm kind of separating these two. I get it so inflamed that when I push, oh my God, look at that. Oh, wow, babe, look.
water retention?
Yeah, huge water retention right here. All right, so I'm gonna smash this part right here because it's a huge ball of tension. So I'm getting up on my knees and I'm just going to get my wrist on him and just literally smash it down into the ground. Everybody's different. You probably can't do this maybe with a lot of people, but sometimes it's completely necessary. Hands and feet are very dainty, but they're also, leverage a lot of weight every single day. So I'm holding the hand open, keeping it flat.
You got that right there.
Josh loves getting work done. He gets to get a nap, goes to bed early.
I never know what she works on when I wake up. I wake up and she's like, "How do you feel?" And I'm like, "I don't know. What'd you work on?" And she's like, "This and this and this," and then it like hits me like because I hadn't stood up yet. I'm like, "Oh yeah, feels amazing."
I'll mostly hear it the next day, like, "Oh man, I feel
Yeah.
so much better."
I just pass out in 5 minutes, and my nervous system immediately feels calm. That's the beauty of having the same person work on you, like over and over. Like the second you touch them, that harmonic energy between the two bodies, immediately the nervous system knows who it is.
Again, I'm just stretching it. I just kind of popped a little knot in there. He's got a lot more tension in here though. Pulling this open, stretching it. You can still see he's got a lot of stuff in here. It's definitely a lot flatter down here in this area where I was hitting.
Poppy.
Now I can rotate a little bit better from the
Yeah,
wrist.
it doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt, he said.
And now I can rotate around.
And it's a perfectly straight line too, rotating. So it's getting a lot looser. It's still all right here. and right in there. I'm going to hit one more spot. Okay. Taking my palm, smashing it against his thumb right here. You see his hand curls in half like that. It doesn't want to lay open flat.
Never.
Never. So.
That's how I hold my phone.
Yeah, we all hold our phones, right? So I'm gonna try and smash this down flat, make it all nice and open, and hopefully in turn two, it'll relax this side as well. I'm starting right in the middle here. I'm probably gonna work my way out this way, and I'll do it again and start in the middle and work my way out to the other side, towards the pinky side. Getting more range of motion with that thumb there. Starting to flatten out a little bit. He needs a lot of work to his hands. So
Should smash it opposite.
what's that?
Face down.
Oh, face down. Okay, we'll have to.
Do the wrist to the knuckles. Probably in the stomach.
So now I'm doing the other side, starting in the middle, pushing it out.
I like to do that with my knee.
He says he likes to do this with his knee.
I just smash their whole hand and just push it one way this way, and it's a lot more comfortable for them because I get it done quick and it's just broad pressure.
Oh, that's a lot better. See that? Now it lies open a little bit more. That's awesome. I'm just going to pull it, do a little one more stretch, a little range of motion test. Oh, much better. And go a little bit more side to side now. That lays flat. A little bit more even now. Whoop. Cool. So he's going to lay on his stomach. I'm just going to smash the tops of his hands. Same thing, you're gonna feel stuff, in between the bones here. A lot of nerves in here too, so taking a broad, unless you want to go in between in the nitty gritty.
It's more about just pressure through the hand to feel the hard spot, the big spots. If you try and feel at the surface, you're going to feel like a bunch of gristly little spots. You want to press into where you make things feel like they're bigger balls. A lot of what's trapped in the hands and feet is energy, so.
Yeah, that's true. Energy trapped in the hands and feet.
Yeah, the tissues hold energy. It doesn't necessarily have to be a physical trigger point. It could be bound up energy in there.
I'm just taking my palm and literally smashing the tops of his hands.
Same thing we did with the ridge of the foot. When I pull on it, it's just pulling that thing straight into a more flat and neutral position instead of it being all curled up and pulled together.
Just testing the range of motion here. Again, same thing on this side as it is on the other side. These bumps and spots that he's got here are both on the outside. You can see him when his hand lays flat. So I'm going to open up the thumb and get right in between this little crevice here. I did a boxing session today, so my surprisingly weak in my hands right now, but it's not about how much pressure you can apply with your hands. As Josh always tells me, you have to apply the entire energy has to come from, the whole muscle group. So from the shoulders, even my leg, using my knee, my body to push into something. And like he says before too, it takes away the focus of your hand. More so you're focusing on leveraging, where you're finding that balance and being able to find power to push through the body and the spots and hard areas. I'm going to do that on the outside of the wrist here, and then move on to the other hand. This is your right hand, huh?
So that one's pretty mangled.
I'm just pulling it away from the center of the hand because everything's jumbled up in the center. So you want to just pull it away. let it slide down the side. Just taking my fingers, again, because his hand is like this all day, trying to open up that space in between the wrist and the hand. Probably if you have nails, this wouldn't be very comfortable on somebody. I'll do the other side.
With the what?
Yeah, so when Josh works on people or stretching, I'm always focused on trying to make those lines or movement work that doesn't work. So, when he twists this way, what's not firing? What's stopping this from twisting? What's hindering this range of motion here? And then assessing from there. So here you can see, this line stops right here. So you can see it's nice and carved out here. On the top as well, you can see that it's not firing. There's a big ball right here. And then I'm saying I'm a lot.
It's not day.
It's the day. But again, you can take somebody's range of motion. You can take their whole arm, work through it, see what's firing, see what's not, see what is keeping you from twisting, from moving a certain way. So really understanding, the way joints move, the way muscles look. When I started working on myself, I started focusing on my arms because I was able to pinch, use my fingers and stuff, and really try and feel visually. I used to have the anatomy book sitting there with me while I do this, but really visualizing what the muscles are supposed to look like versus what they look like on me. Why are they looking like this kind of thing, So you can really, especially when Josh gets those bodybuilders and the competitive group of people that come in, it's fun because when they go and flex, you see more lines show that they didn't know were even there. But even for anybody, that's, I'm not muscular, but still the areas that don't move, that can't fire, those are most likely the areas that need to be worked on. All right, I'm just gonna smash the top of this hand. It's 6:45. It's probably the longest one we've done in a while.
I want to talk a good amount.
Yeah.
We'll just wrap up with this. Once you smash my hand.
You just don't realize how important the hands and feet are. How much energy and tension that they hold. So same thing, I'm just smashing the top of his hand with the palm of my hand, pushing it down into the ground, trying to feel those layers of tension, knots, balls, whatever you feel. his wrist is really where a lot of his tension lies. So my focus is a lot on the outside of my arm, pushing down into that ridge of the wrist, but still having pressure in the middle of my hand, pushing on the top of his hand. And same thing, I'm going to go right for that thumb. That thumb is just wanting to hug that hand. It won't let go. So just going to open it up and get in that space in between. Ooh, got a lot of tension in there.
A lot better.
Hmm?
A lot better. That spot, the line right there.
Oh, cool. Now I'm gonna see how this one even lay flat here either. I'm just gonna go on the outside. Oh, much better. His wrist, you can still see some tension in here. I'm just gonna go on the wrist real quick. Again, just trying to separate the wrist and the hand. Huh? Okay. Little range of motion. stretch. Pull it open. I'd love to do a full one on partner stretching, go through the whole body. When I was pregnant, or even before that, we started combining our sessions, and I would stretch people and go through everything, range of motion, the whole body, really open up the body and warm them up before Josh went and worked on them. And it really helped a lot because it took away that instant, what could I say, the instant like pain.
Yeah. Just makes the initial shock from everything
Yeah,
so much
yeah.
better. Then the effect is better. And they used to think people would be like, "Oh, you're trying to get over and like just put me with Sarah so you don't have to do all the time." And then when Joshua was born, everybody's like, "Where's Sarah? It's all painful."
They'd always say, "I'm the gentle one." Why can't I just have you for 3 hours, 4 hours, however long it was?
I'm like, sure, it'd be a different effect. It'd still feel really good and a lot better, but
Even now too, when some people are just too overstimulated,
twitchy and pulling.
take a pause and just stretch them. Go through the whole range of motion, pull the joints. Go through. I know that fly is just getting on my nerves. Losing my train of thought here.
The hand's better, for sure not.
Okay.
Even though it still wants to be like this.
Yeah.
Great. It's good to hear. I have to start doing these, get some different lighting now that the sun's going to start going down a little bit different. Like my 1950s. So thanks for coming, guys. This was awesome. It's not very often that I get to get worked on too. So, but that is something that I almost never do. That's something that Sarah always treats me with. But the hands and the feet are definitely important. So we look forward to seeing you guys on Sunday so we can do some self-therapy stuff, some ball rolling, some different things like that, some different range of motion testing and stretching and things that you can do. But do you have any questions, Kathy?
Nope, I'm just planning on coming on Sunday and playing some more.
Sweet.
Been great.
Great. Thanks so much. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming. Episode 13. Tomorrow, Sunday is going to be our last episode for this block, since we didn't do 12 weeks like we figured out in the middle. So the next time I think it is going to be, who knows? This next one, we're going to take a week off. We're going to kind of like recalibrate, see things like what we want to do, and think of some new methods, some new ways, and maybe invest in some different things that we can do just to maybe bring better lightings or get like different focus angles or something like that. But who knows? And it might run longer, it might run shorter. We might figure out it's like one focused on this or one focused on that, but we want to keep the variation up. So love you guys. See you on Sunday. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much.